Made this afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. So, how is it going to work? Each candidate is going to have a 2-minute address at the beginning of the debate. They're then going to have 2 themed questions. They're each going to have 1 minute to reply to the question, and then a 5-minute general debate on the topic of the question. And then they'll have a final 1-minute closing address. On the far right is our Conservative candidate, Alistair Shepherd-Walwyn. On his left is the Liberal Democrat candidate, Christian Harper. Next is the Labour candidate, Tom Durvan. On my left is the Green candidate, Hugo Rimmer. And finally, on the far right is our UKIP candidate. Okay, I'd like to invite our candidates to perform their opening address. So I'll start with our Conservative candidate, Mr. Alistair Shepherd-Walwyn.
In the upcoming debate, I urge you to focus on what we know. The last 2 decades have presented a stark contrast from which we can draw some well-informed conclusions and make the right decisions going forward. We have seen Labour almost encourage the Great Recession with irresponsible spending and their persistent refusal to accept responsibility for their mistakes. This proves them to be an unfit option in the upcoming election. In contrast, under the coalition government, we have introduced the Great Revival, and with 2 more years to enforce our long-term economic plan, we will eliminate the deficit we inherited. This plan has been working for 5 years now and will continue to work for your benefit, creating more jobs, increasing funding in vital public services, controlling the welfare system and rewarding hard work. Do I believe that Labour's plans to raise taxes and cut people's pay is acceptable? No, that's not me. I stand for fair cuts that are not damaging to the general well-being of the British people. I believe in methods that have been tried and tested over the past 5 years and have been proven to work.
Thank you very much for the speech. I'd like to call upon the Liberal Democrat candidate, Christian Harper.
Well, good afternoon everyone. My name is Christian Harper and I will be representing the Liberal Democrats. Well, I'm sure the first thing you want to know is what can we bring you as the Liberal Democrat Party? Well, for the last 5 years we've been in a coalition government with the Conservatives in which we've brought stability at a time of crisis as the Labour Party left us in a great recession. We've also made this country the fastest growing economy in G7 in this time as the coalition. Furthermore, we've reduced the deficit by a half in our time with the Conservatives. We've also introduced the banking levy, which is helping growing economy even now. We've also ended child detention for immigration, which was put in place by Labour, and I'm sure you'll all agree this is a great change to our society. Although there have been mistakes in these years, for example, the university fees, which were introduced by Labour, but we had to increase them as a result of the debt introduced by the Labour Party. However, our economy continues to grow as a result of this coalition, which contained a great number of Liberal Democrat ministers. So, if you want to keep this growth in economy going, vote Liberal Democrats.
Thank you very much, Christian. I'd now like to call upon our Labour candidate, Mr. Tom Durvan.
2/3 people entering the workforce begin being paid under the minimum wage today. People are being forced to wait longer and longer in line for vital treatment at the NHS. And they keep making cuts which harm the working people of Britain on behalf of the rich. 10 fire stations have been shut in the past 5 years, in London alone. We have some problems that need to be resolved. That's clear. But do we, like the Conservatives, continue to cut vital services, which the working people of Britain, like you and me, need to save lives, need to live safe, fulfilling lives? Do we neglect the need to stop borrowing and using money that really we don't have? Do we continue to operate a government on the deficit? Look. Listen. Look. The answer's no. That's not me. Thank you very much. It is time to change Britain, so it works for you, not just a powerful few. That's my goal.
Uncanny. Moving on to our next candidate for the Green Party, Mr. Hugo Rimmer.
So, to quote the late John Lennon, imagine. Thank you. No, imagine a political party that puts you first. Sounds crazy. Well, no longer, because if you vote for me, the Green representative, you will actually matter. I know it sounds unlikely after this dull, red-blue trading which we have all suffered under. Did you know that over 90% of 18-year-olds can't spell certain words? That's a fact. You know why that is? These two over there. A major issue in our nation is the fact that 5.2 million people are paid under the living wage, which is, just so happens to be £7.85 an hour. Fact, I got them. This means 5.2 million people are struggling to live at just a standard, you know? And that's terrible. We are going to try and implement an EU Robin tax on financial transactions, meaning we can raise the minimum wage, allowing people to survive and thrive in our community. And we'll create over 1 million jobs, which pay over the living wage, resulting in happy customers nationwide. We will also introduce a new wealth tax on the top 1%, the richest of the rich, meaning the public sector can be improved. And we also promise to end tax loopholes. The uber wealthy of this nation are often the ones who avoid the tax, and Mr. UKIP over here will tell you that it's the EU immigrants and they're taking our jobs, whilst actually it's his banker mates who are not giving back. A society only works when we all work together. And it's weak to claim that immigrants are the one who hold us back. The EU is positive, and that's just one of my policies. Vote Green, be me. Love it.
Thank you very much, Hugo. I'd like to call upon our final candidate, the representative for UKIP, Mr. William Terrington.
Okay, so the first problem that none of the other parties have been addressing is EU. Is our main problem, and none of the other parties are willing to address it. Quite frankly, our country is no longer our own. Since 2010, the EU has been controlling the immigration, the law, order, and energy in this England, but now we pay £5 million a day in membership fees for the privilege. This is something that none of these other parties are willing to address. This is money that could be invested in health services, as the Greens say, and in jobs, such as Labour say, but none of them will address this. So the only way we can regain control of the situation, which is quite frankly a mess, is by leaving the European Union. Our public services are under threat because we have lost control of our borders. We do not have the infrastructure because it is under pressure. Health services, hospitals are crowded, A&Es are overrun. School places, the schools are bulging at the brim. And the housing, well, we need to build hundreds of houses within an hour to cope with the numbers. So how are we going to do that? Well, greenfield sites. But why should we lose our greenfield sites? That is part of our green and pleasant land. Why should we lose that for immigrants coming in? So the Office of National Statistics has estimated that the population of the UK will increase by a further 3 million by 2020. So everyone, you need your country, and we need you to vote for us. So treat the referendum as a chance for you to save our country.
Thank you very much, William Torrington. Now moving on to our themed question. The first themed question is on the economy. So our question is from Dave in Shropshire, and his question is this. The economy is a big issue, but what are you willing to do not just to safeguard the British economy, but to improve standards of living?
Previously, the state of the nation that the Conservative Party inherited from Labour was truly abysmal. And over these last 5 years, we have worked incredibly hard to improve it, and in fact, we have improved it. I say to you that we would continue with these trends. We are seeing a rise in job availability, which, as Mr. UKIP fails to recognise, is actually the cause for the majority of the immigration. We've increased spending in the NHS and will continue to do so. We are creating new apprentices, we are building new houses, and we are drastically reducing the unemployment rate. All of these changes will continue and will improve the standards of living in this country. I believe that we should learn from experience, and in the recent years, all that the British public have really been able to experience from their government is the success of the Conservative Party after the abysmal failure of the Labour Party.
Thank you very much. Lord Democrat.
Well, Mr. Shepherd-Walwyn here has put it very well that our deficit has been very much increased by the Labour Party who were before us. But the Liberal Democrats wish to decrease the deficit, as we already have done, but further, to make it zero. We'll do this by continuing with the banking levy, which is an annual tax, and this is expected to raise £3.7 billion per year, which will, I'm sure you'll agree, largely help with cutting the deficit. Thank you.
Okay, just a reminder of that question. What are you willing to do not just to safeguard the British economy, but to improve standards of living? Labour.
There's a lot of words being used which I wouldn't have understood before I had to do this. Deficit. What does it mean? What does it mean? Well, one thing I know is that Labour is the only party which has a budget responsibility law, which means that the deficit will not be increased no matter what we do, and we will not borrow any more money in order to achieve our goals. You don't really care about the economy. What you care about is three things. Well, we can get close. We will freeze gas and electricity prices until 2017. We will ban zero-hour contracts, making sure that people have a livable wage, whatever they're doing, as long as they're working longer than 12 weeks.
But, you know.
Thank you very much, candidate for Green.
Before you ask, my zipper is not undone, it's poor tailoring. Anyway, so, you're talking about the economy, really. How can we not only safeguard the economy, but what was the word?
Improve.
Improve the economy. I'm going to be honest with you. I honestly don't think that the red-blue government so far has done a good job on that. In fact, they've been making cuts in places that are necessary to our nation. The NHS, you know, yeah, think about it. The NHS is vital to us, and by making cuts to things like this, and education, it's just like, yeah, no, I understand,
To
Toby.
factually remind
Yeah.
Green candidate that the Conservatives ring-fenced NHS spending over the course of the
I
last
thought this was, you were impartial, but thank you anyway.
I'm here to make factual comments.
Okay, anyway, may have got my facts wrong. The economy is not a strong part of the Greens' policy, but I can tell you, in Colorado, when marijuana was legalized, yeah, recreational use of marijuana, the projected economic growth through marijuana for 2 years is apparently 13 billion. Just saying, think about what would happen if we had it here. Blaze it up.
Thank you, candidate for UKIP.
So there are two main ways in which we would like to improve the economy. The first one is a way in which none of the others are willing to do. The UKIP party would actually like to ban inheritance tax entirely, because we believe it is grossly unfair. Inheritance tax is merely a tax on what you've already been taxed on. So in order to benefit the economy, we believe that families should be able to leave their own money to their own children tax-free. The second way we're going to do this is we're going to prioritise British places for workers, for British people. And also we will increase the number of apprenticeships, and we will also give more young people more choice in education. We will scrap the target for 50% of people to attend university. This will give more choice to people whether they can choose an apprenticeship or whatever they would like to do, and that is how we believe the economy will move forward if people are given a choice and people are given more freedom.
Thank you very much. Okay, now moving on to a 5-minute period of free debate. Is there any of you that would like to start first? Green.
Just a quick rebuttal on the UKIP points. Oh, okay, yeah, sure. Just a quick rebuttal on the UKIP points. It has actually been shown that British workers are often a lot less productive than perhaps EU migrants, for example. Oh, no, please let me finish. Thank you very much. It's been shown that often, due to the fact that people migrate over here, which is not a bad thing, they boost the economy because they're able to do more work, produce more. They are more efficient than many of us who take our places as a British person for granted. As British people, we cannot expect just to get a job because we are British. We should be able to fight for that job, and through EU immigration, that means that British people have to up their game to become better workers. Thank you.
On the subject of EU immigration, more countries which are considerably poorer than countries such as France, Germany and England are due to join the EU. However, this is going to cause many problems. We're just going to be drained of money. We'll have to bail them out because they won't be able to join it properly. And also on the subject of British workers being lazy, this is why we would like to put in this education process and give them more choice. They actually have the chance to learn how to work properly. So this is how we're going to...
As usual, UKIP has failed to see past immigration. In reply to Labour's comments, I feel it is in fact your obligation to not borrow any more money, after spending 13 years increasing the deficit, only for a far more competent set of parties to come along and halve it.
It's a man who's stuck in the past.
words, Shepherd Walwyn is stuck in the past. But I think really, Durban's Labour Party in government are stuck in the past for a good reason. Let's keep them stuck. Vote Liberal Democrats. Keep us in instead of them. Do not let them get to Downing Street again and increase the deficit further.
Yeah. No? Okay, we'll move on to our next topic. Okay, our next theme question is on immigration. This is from Sarah in Buckinghamshire. She says, many people are worried about immigration and its pressure on public services. How far are you willing to go on the issue of immigration? This time, I'm going to start from the other end with our UKIP candidate.
Well, currently, I'm not saying that there is anything wrong with immigration. In fact, it can be quite beneficial. But quite frankly, at the moment, we all believe that they can bring more benefit than we actually believe. So at the moment, people can spend up to 24 hours on a trolley in A&E just waiting for surgery. And I'm not kidding, that has actually happened, particularly in Wales, which is run by Labour. So that's a very big problem. Ambulance services are going to be cut. Doctors just can't cope with the number of patients, and people are dying needlessly. So, quite frankly, it is a problem. I'm not saying something like there's nothing wrong with it, but at the moment we need control of our borders, because at the moment anyone in the EU can migrate freely into the UK and use our public services, which is obviously not right.
Just to clarify the question, how far are you willing to go?
I would like to put a control on the border whereby we give people work permits to come over, but people just can't move freely into the UK. We are not closing the country off. We're still open for business, but we just do not want the free movement of people in the EU.
Thank you very much. Green candidate?
I think a major issue here is people think that it's immigration which is putting pressure on public services, when actually it's not. It's things like scrapping the inheritance tax or forgetting to tax the most wealthy, because those are the people who really need to be taxed so these public services can be boosted. Immigration for the Greens is a massive issue. We don't believe that we should try and isolate ourselves in some right-wing frenzy. I believe that we should instead put in a new system for immigration. Don't discriminate on what they look like or how useful they could be. You have to weigh them up as a whole person, if you will. And you have to look into the future. You can't just see, oh, there's a family moving over here, that's going to put stress on us. You have to see how that could evolve and how they could grow and help the economy. Oh, okay, I didn't realise that was happening.
Okay, so we're going to move on to our next. We're going to move on to the next answer. The question is, many people are worried about immigration and its pressure on public services. How far are you willing to go? Perhaps some more definite policy commitments from our right. Labour.
Labour will never cut out Britain from the rest of the world. Never. It's not possible. We will enforce fair rules, so that those who come here won't be able to claim benefits for at least 2 years. Addresses the issue. And we will stop child benefit being sent to families living abroad. We're going to strengthen our borders, and we're going to recruit an extra 1,000 people. 1,000. And we're not going to borrow money for it either. A small visa payment will be made by people without a visa for the UK in the future, and that will be able to pay for us to have more workers and more security. I think what's key about the Labour Party, as opposed to exposing or taking advantage of people's fears, we're going to address them.
Thank you very much. Christian Halpern.
Well, how far will a party go for immigration? I think the answer to that for UKIP and Labour is really too far. Labour Party before us were detaining children for immigration purposes. That really is against basic moral codes. And the United Kingdom Independence Party would like to pull out of the EU free movement. I think this is a terrible idea. This will decrease our growing economy, and we will still not be able to pay for all the people in our country. But the Liberal Democrats will control immigration, but not to the extent of, for example, detaining children, and even adults will not be detained indefinitely. There will be a system such as we have the habeas corpus for criminals. However, these people, of course, have often committed no crimes. So we will go far enough to control it, but not too far.
We are controlling immigration, and we will continue to control immigration. People coming from the EU will no longer get the unemployment benefit. If after 6 months they are still unemployed, they will have to return home. If they do not get a job, they will have to work for 4 years paying into our systems before they can take out of the system. And finally, they will not be able to send child benefits back to their home countries if they are working in the UK. These are solid schemes that are going to work. We've already stopped these bogus colleges from handing out visas on arrival. This is more than the majority of the other parties present can claim to ever have done.
Thank you very much. Moving on to a period of debate on the issue. Green card, please.
Just quickly to the Conservative and UKIP candidates, don't you think that this stance, this relatively harsh stance, just shows a complete lack of empathy? And although empathy in your mind may not have a place in politics, it's still necessary to understand people's situations and perhaps look at our own people and see what they're doing in terms of benefits granting.
You say look at our own people, and yet we are the only party giving our people the choice. There is going to be a referendum in 2017 giving the United Kingdom the choice to pull out of the EU.
First thing I'd say is that if we are put into power, we'd like to bring the referendum forward to deal with the problem more instantly. The second problem is also that at the moment we have 300,000 people every year coming into the UK. Just imagine, 300,000. Where are they going to go? That is the problem. So we'd like to encourage the building on brownfield sites, and we are going to protect the greenbelt and stop people building on it. And also, the other.
Thank you very much.
Well, Mr. Tarrington has very accurately pointed out the 300,000 foreign people in this country. However, what he's failed to mention is the £8 billion a year contributed by those immigrants. I think we need to embrace immigration to a certain extent. We have very good trade connections with the European Union, and I think we would keep those in a more stable way by staying in the EU.
Talking about discouraging building on what was it, the Greenbelt site? The Greenbelt site, from what I understand, is the suburban areas, mid between city and greenery, if you will, yes?
Yes.
Yes, okay. To me, that seems as if that's where a large percentage of upper middle class people live. And it seems as if you're protecting their interests. And by building on brown sites, we'll continue to boost up urban population and urban, you know that geography term, the one where it's like really compacted together, lots of people. I can't hear you. Anyway, it seems as if you're trying to ignore putting a bit of a strain on the upper middle class and the wealthy, whilst putting more and more of a strain on the lower class and the people who really need help.
Yes, but at the same time, what you're suggesting is they want to put strain on the countryside. People living in the countryside quite simply do not want more buildings. It is ruining the fields. Where will the farmland be?
So there isn't farmland in the Greenbelt.
In the countryside.
In the Greenbelt area, though.
And also, just to address the point of the Liberal Democrats, you say about the £8 billion. Well, £8 billion is being wasted on health tourism. So that's been cancelled out by health tourism. People who come into the UK, have an operation or whatever, and then go out again. That has cost us £8 billion a year. So your argument is cancelled out.
Firstly, to address some comments of Liberal Democrats. Not as different as you think. Me and you, together. We will end the indefinite detention of people in the asylum and immigration system, as you claimed you would as well. And, in accord with the Green Party, we do appreciate the contribution of people coming from other countries to Britain, and it has a great effect. We will ensure Britain continues its proud history, providing refuge for those fleeing persecution, and will uphold our international obligations to the UN, helping such places dire support and needed support like Syria. Thanks.
Okay. Yes, thank you. Well, I think it's a bit unfair for Mr. Terrington to say that my numbers have cancelled out, saying that money wasted. If you say £8 billion are wasted on health tourism, and the £8 billion are being put in by immigrants, that cancels out, but for themselves, they're paying for their own healthcare. So, in some ways, that's perfectly fair, and that people should be able to pay for their healthcare.
Sure, thank you very much. Okay, we're now going to move on to the final part of our debate, where our candidates will be able to put forward closing remarks. So, in the same order we had at the beginning, just standing up where they are, I'd like to call upon Alistair Baldwin.
As expected, really not much was said today. UKIP still failed to see past immigration. The Green Party got slightly caught on an issue of marijuana. Labour was, as always, short and not too sweet. And the Liberal Democrats, well... We must learn from experience. The coalition government has produced results where Labour failed to do so. It is as simple as that.
Thank you very much. We're going to go
Thank you, Mr. Shepherd-Baldwin. We have, as a coalition, done what Labour have failed to do, and if you vote Liberal Democrats, we will continue to do so, whether on our own or with anyone else. We have indeed rescued the economy from the Labour Party, so I would not like to be serving as a government with the Labour Party. However, if you vote Liberal Democrats, we will make this a fair and stable system of living in this country. Thank you.
Okay.
You, working people of Britain, thanks for sitting through that. Labour Party, people of Britain, British people, the working people of Britain. We will not increase the VAT. We will cut pension tax. We will cut pension for those earning more than £43,000 a year in their old age. These are hard decisions. Hard decisions. It was hard for me to make them. But we have to make them. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you very much. Hugo Romero, Green candidate.
I think what's been addressed today has been relatively meaningless for all of you guys, because you obviously can't vote. So I just...
We'll be voting next week on Thursday.
Whatever. So what have been addressed today are just some of the things that we will do. We are not the Lib Dems. We will stick to our promises. So, if you care for your own future, as young people in this country, the only party you can support is the Greens. And to finish, as a wise man once said, with long hair comes great trustworthiness, and as you can all see, my fringe goes below my chin. Thank you very much.
Okay, and finally, our Green candidate.
So, as you can see, all these parties here, they talk about what they're going to do, but it's all theory and nothing in practice. Such as my idea to build on the brownfield sites instead of greenfield. You all talk about the amount of houses we need to build. Well, where are you going to build them? None of you mention that. And I will also leave you the fact that, say, in the late 20th century, particularly the 1980s, which which is when we had one of the biggest financial booms we ever had, we only had 30,000 migrants. So yes, migrants can be of help, but quite frankly at the moment we have too many and the number now is just not helping. So I'd like to leave you with that thought.
Thank you very much. Thank you all candidates for being